Hello everyone, welcome to Bake with Chef by Apgar Malaysia. My name is Angela Van Toorn, and today I'll be showing you how to make Crown of Bordeaux. To make the biga for our Crown of Bordeaux, we have instant yeast, water, and bread flour. To make the biga for our Crown of Bordeaux, we're going to take the bowl of our stand mixer. We're going to put in our water, our yeast, and our flour. We're going to use a paddle attachment. We're going to mix just until well combined. So once everything is mixed well for our biga, we're just going to remove from the bowl. Pick up any little bits of dry parch in the bottom. Knead a little bit well by hand just to make sure there's no dry spots. Then we're going to place into a bowl. We're going to cover and we're going to leave at 24 degrees Celsius for about 14 to 16 hours before putting into our final dough. To make the final dough for our Crown of Bordeaux, we have bread flour, water, yeast, salt, malt flour, and our biga. To begin making the final dough for our Crown of Bordeaux, we're going to take the bowl of our stand mixer. We're going to put in our water, our biga, our yeast, our malt flour, bread flour, and salt. We're going to mix with the dough hook attachment for first speed for about 4 minutes. Then we're going to go to second speed for an additional 5 minutes or until the dough cleans up from the bowl. So we finished the first speed on the Crown of Bordeaux. Now we're going to go to the second speed for 5 minutes until we have a nice smooth dough. So our Crown of Bordeaux is finished mixing. So now we'll just take it out of the mixer. So we just remove the hook from the dough. Remove the dough from the bowl. Give the dough a bit of a rounding. Then we'll place into an oiled container. We cover. We're going to leave at 24 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes. Then we're going to fold it 4 ways and leave for another 45 minutes. After the bulk fermentation is done, then we can start dividing and shaping. So now our bulk fermentation has finished for the Crown of Bordeaux. So we're going to remove it from the bowl. And we'll begin dividing 70-gram portions. We should be able to get 10 portions because that's how many pieces we need for 1 loaf. So once we have our portions divided, we're just going to begin rounding them out. So once we have our rounded portions, we're going to place them back into the bin. This is just our pre-shape. So we're going to put into the bin, and then we're going to allow these to rest for about 20 minutes before rolling again. So we'll leave this at room temperature for 20 minutes, allow them to relax a bit. Then one piece we're gonna roll into a large disc. The other 9 pieces we're gonna roll back into balls and then place them on top of the disc for the final shape. So our dough has had a chance to rest. So now we'll begin shaping the crown of Bordeaux. So we'll start first with one ball. We're gonna start taking one piece and we're gonna roll it out into a thin disc. We can use a little bit of extra flour for this if we need, so it won't stick to the board or the rolling pin. We need to roll this disc wide enough that we can fit all 9 of the remaining balls on. Also, we don't want it to be too thick because it won't look as nice if the dough is very thick around the edges. Okay, so once I have my disc rolled out, we're gonna transfer this onto a tray. So I have a tray lined with parchment paper. I'm gonna spray the tray first with a little bit of oil. I'm gonna take my disc, place it onto the tray, and then I can use a bowl to make sure that the dough is nice and round. So I put a bowl upside down on top, and I'm just gonna take a knife and trim off the extra dough. So now I have a nice round disc. I'm now gonna start with the remaining pieces. So first I'm gonna take a little bit of oil and I'm gonna spray just around the edge of the disc. You don't have to use spray. You can also use a brush with some normal oil is fine as well. This is just gonna create a point where the dough balls won't stick to the disc, so later when we bake, it'll help the disc rise up a little. So now I'm gonna take my remaining balls, I'm gonna roll them back nicely, and then I'm gonna place them upside down around the circumference of the disc. When we place them around, make sure that we're placing them into a circle. And again, we're putting them upside down because actually this whole loaf is being built upside down. Later, before the baking, we're gonna overturn. So now that we have the pieces built, we're gonna take a knife and we're just going to cut a small triangle in the center and flip it over the dough balls. This will help us connect the dough balls to the disc. So now that it's assembled, we're gonna take the knife and we're just gonna cut the paper around. because we're not going to need all of this extra paper. It'll make it more difficult later when we want to flip it. So now we're gonna cover this and we're gonna leave it at 24 degrees Celsius for about an hour and a half before we overturn it and bake. So now our crown of Bordeaux has finished proofing. So what we're going to do is we're gonna place a piece of parchment paper on top, and then we're gonna gently flip it over. We're going to remove the parchment paper from the top carefully. So this is why I sprayed the paper with a little bit of oil, so it won't stick to the dough. Now I just arrange back slightly. And then before putting in the oven, I'm just gonna dust with a little bit of flour. So now we're gonna place into the oven at 230 degrees with 3 seconds of steam for 15 minutes. Then we're gonna vent out the steam and bake for another 15 minutes before removing from the oven and putting onto a cooling rack. So now our crown of Bordeaux is ready to come out of the oven. So we're gonna transfer it to a wire rack for cooling. And now we're gonna let it sit for an hour to an hour and a half before serving. So now our crown of Bordeaux is ready to serve. Thank you for tuning in to Bake with Chef by Africa Malaysia. Happy baking.